Can we all just collectively as a TenSura community admit that this is very well top 10 slime moment? Rimuru casually implying, without meaning it of course, but still it doesn't really change the fact that it was said, casually implying one of the most powerful characters, a demon lord, in this world is no different than poultry. Pretty much saying that, well, because Frey has wings, really no different than having some chicken. The fact that you have one of the greatest banters in the span of less than a minute, you have another demon lord, Charon, literally losing his shit, like bursting out belly laughing at how disrespectful Rimuru is and how he wishes he would have came up with that zinger. And then you have Milim. Milim is the wild card of a show because she can be one of the most intimidating and batshit crazy characters, also a demon lord, but the funniest part about that whole dynamic is like, it's weird because how freaking old is Milim? Like, how many thousands of years old really? But the fact that in this scene and in this episode she comes across as like she's some kid who came to like her parents' banquet ball thing, and she's just like, her reaction to who is basically her mom, like that's like the dynamic she has with Frey, is like, wow, I never would have thought of that one. I'll never be able to top that. Like, she's just in awe of Rimuru's disrespect as our boy's busting out laughing. Rimuru immediately shits himself and is like, nah, I swear that's not what I meant. And then obviously it defuses and all's well that ends well. But for such a short, sweet, and to the point moment, that level of the fact that they're all demon lords, and when you consider the fact of how many normal ass people just observed something that could have been World War III in terms of scale of this world, and it just got brushed off as, I knew you were a good boy, was just comedy gold. Now, of course, I do have those full live reactions over on Patreon. If you want to see my full thought to any of these slime episodes, you know it's going to be over there exclusively. So, fantastic episode. A little slow at the very beginning, but man, like, this is what I come to TenSura for. Some people come to TenSura for those big moments like in Season 2 when chaos reigns amok and, you know, death galore, who's gonna live, who's gonna die, big battles, all that fun jazz. I fell in love with slime because most of Season 1, while yes, there was select battles throughout it, it was at the end of the day a civilization simulator. It was watching Rimuru build connections with characters like Ranga and build up Tempest. And that's what I love about the second core of Season 3. I said it pretty early on into Core 2 that this is literally what peak slime looks like. I know there's some crazy arcs apparently people are excited for that you'd see in a Season 4 or 5, and I'm sure they are going to be great. But for me personally, this is what I come to slime for. It's the dialogue. It's the way characters have fun talking. And as I said last week, and as I've been implying over the course of the second half of Season 3, the biggest difference in terms of dialogue is if we're talking about strategy versus if we're talking about economics. Because once we start talking about the economic side of TenSura, it becomes so much more enjoyable because the characters are generally having fun, the dynamics are way more fun, and in general, I just have a much more pleasant time. Like, the idea of such a simple idea, but this is what works. You can look at the first half of the season and the times when they're talking about, you know, how they're going to attack people, and then it happens. It's like, yeah, you know, it's fine, it is what it is, but action, in my opinion, isn't this show's forte. It can be good, but it's not, like, the best thing about this show. And maybe people will disagree with this, but I'd hope if you got this far into slime, you recognize this is kind of the show's bread and butter. It's the simple moments about how a slime who started off in the real world, got reincarnated here, has so many brilliant ideas, and, you know, despite Rimuru kind of being on 30 to 40% autopilot, like 30 to 40% of the time things are happening in the ways that he's trying to have them happen, but most of the time he sits back and says, yeah, that's not really what I was implying, but that works out, so I'll allow it. The idea of, like, the sushi moment, right? So we have this big festival going on, right? And the idea is it's basically to not only announce that Rimuru is a demon lord now, but it's also to bring Tempest front and center to the world so that more cultures, more people will interact and hopefully move in. and it will just set Tempest up for success. So of course, that's all great, and a simple moment when this chef is cutting up this giant monster fish into sushi, and the idea that Rimuru and some of the other characters are enjoying it, but the idea of just people in the background being so shocked because, like, this is a world that's not, like, modern like ours. A lot of ideas are probably set in stone a lot more, and just the concept of seeing not only monsters and demon lords and people that they're probably scared of eat these foods, the fact that they're also intrigued, and it opens their eyes to the idea that there's some foods that you might only be able to get from Tempest, and then that's another bonus for their whole culture kind of evolving and thriving. You can look at the meeting at the very end when Rimuru declares himself king. It's like basically his King of the North speech, but it's fantastic because it's basically like, hey, listen, you know, we don't always have to get along, we might not always agree, I am a monster, you might be human, we might come from different walks of life, but we can all coexist. I have no interest in stomping on you, I don't want you to stomp on me. There's a little bit of a threat there at the end, pretty much saying if you try to pick a fight with us, I will absolutely crush you, but in general, welcome to Tempest. Like, that's not what I'm here for. It shows the right amount of strength that Tempest isn't a nation to be messed with. He comes across as a kind, but very powerful demon lord. He has the culture, he has the, you know, progressiveness of his nation in terms of so many different sights and wonders that you're not going to be able to see otherwise. But on top, you do believe that he could probably kill you if you tried to screw him over. And the idea of saying anyone can come here, choose your profession, there's things that only we can do, but yes, we are short on workers, so you are more than welcome. It is a great speech on top of just being merchandise gold. Seriously, I don't know how many figures of Rimuru exist in Japan, but I would hope there is like as many little slime, like him in his slime form figures, as there are like Funko Pops, man. Because every time I see his new outfit with a little mustache and his cape and crown, like, it's peak adorable. Like, that's all I can say. But I enjoyed this episode quite a bit. A little slow in the first like 5 minutes or so, but man, once it started getting rolling, the time just flew by, and I seriously think that's a top 10 TenSura moment, man. Casually disrespecting one of the most powerful characters to be poultry. As Milam said, you can't top that. Let me know what you're thinking, though, down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell, and like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Sean Cafferkey, Jessica L. Compton, Hinokaga, Ishta, Simulcrum, Joe Gaming Axe, Troy, Rikamatsu, Jeffo369, Game Senpai, Burn, and we also have ICL Cicero. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.